All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Evolving Activist. I'm Lauren Morn, and I have an exciting guest today. It's her first interview. It's Wendy Linton, who does beautiful, joyful, creative Chalktivism. And if you've not heard of Chalktivism, that's basically, look what I got, activism using chalk and making beautiful things. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. Now, I know you kind of through the animal rights and the vegan world. You've done a lot of outreach with Justice for Animals, and then obviously your beautiful Chalktivism, which I love seeing you post on Facebook.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that because now I'm all excited because I got my chalk.
Oh my gosh, that chalk is amazing. Jumbo.
I saw it at my local Safeway and I was like, oh, Wendy would want me to get these. So I did.
I'm so glad you did. I'm jealous. I want that chalk.
So tell me a little bit about your evolution as an activist. So were you always an activist? Did you kind of come at it along a path? Tell me a bit more about that.
Right. Well, I became vegan about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I didn't know what to do. When I first got all the information that I did, I felt really overwhelmed, like I think a lot of people do. And I felt like I had to funnel it somewhere. And so I was looking, so I became vegan because I was looking at some video of a dog who had been like badly abused at the hands of a human. And my heart was wide open. I was so sad. And I was actually reading the comments and I saw people commenting, vegans who were commenting, and they were saying like, your heart breaks for this poor dog, but you're eating pigs and cows and chickens, and sort of pointing out that hypocrisy. And I felt kind of shocked and put off by that. And anyway, so it got me down that path. But the thing is that the comments got me thinking and got me researching. And so that kind of planted a seed for me. So I started kind of with online activism and just, posting different things and commenting, but not feeling like I was doing enough.
Right.
And so I found Anonymous for the Voiceless. Mm-hmm. And there's like a wonderful group here in Seattle of amazing, like dedicated activists here.
Very dedicated activists.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing. Yeah. And they were so welcoming too. And they really made me feel, at home. So nice. I was able to join, I guess, it was about 4 years ago, like about a year after I became vegan. And I was kind of scared to, be part of the cube. I didn't know what the expectations would be, but it was great just holding a screen and showing the footage felt to me so incredibly empowering because I felt like I didn't even have to say a word. The footage was saying everything for me.
Like for itself.
Yeah. And then slowly, it's a very powerful thing to stand behind the mask and watch people's interactions and to hear what they have to say. And I slowly learned more and more about what was happening to the animals. And I realized that I didn't have to be like this encyclopedia full of facts. I had a lot more facts, but I learned that it was just more about the passion and speaking from a place of the truth of, what's happening to animals and how wrong that is. And just knowing that if I could connect with people on that level, I could be an activist. So
right.
Yeah, it's kind of how
I think that's something that, when we go vegan for, I think mainly it's those of us who've gone vegan for ethical reasons, but even people who do it for health reasons, suddenly all of a sudden have to become this encyclopedia of like
I know.
Everything nutrition, everything ethics, everything agriculture.
Yeah.
And it's so liberating to let go of that and just say, I don't have to. My reasons for doing this are that there's a moral imperative, and that's the baseline. Exactly. People can go and do their own research on nutrition and animal ag and everything like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, in the cube, the footage speaks for itself.
It
and what
really
shocked
does.
me when I started doing the cubes was that's those are high welfare organizations. Those are organizations that are held up as being, you know,
the standard.
Yeah. And it's horrifying, you know. So this isn't just like that dodgy backyard, like, kind of operation. These are the operations that are basically being held up as this is the highest quality of animal welfare. And it's horrific.
And it's shocking.
Yeah. So I think you're right. Just like to be able to release that burden, right, of being, I have to be all things to everybody, and just say, no, all I need to do is speak my truth.
Totally.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of the other causes you support?
I support Black Lives Matter. I've gone to some marches, and, you know, I basically, I don't see, there's no differentiation for me as far as social justice causes. It's all about the same thing, essentially. You know, underneath it all, we want justice and liberty for all beings. And so I just consider myself an anti-oppression activist. You know, I see how it's all connected. And so, you know, I've seen some things, you know, even in the vegan community, people are they try to be really specific and only want to focus on, you know, species. And, you know, they feel like it could be watering down the message to spread the message of peace and to care about animal or human rights causes as well. But I just feel like it's essentially all the same thing. And so, I don't focus on who is on the receiving end so much of the treatment, just the fact that justice needs to be served. And, you know, if we could all just focus on the values, the underlying values, you know, the compassion, and expand on that. You know, I feel like we tend to almost look at it as though there's not enough to go around.
Yes, and there is, right? Compassion is limitless.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So just expand it and just watch good things happen. You know, it's when we try to withhold it and only, you know, determine like who is worthy. I think that's kind of where we get into trouble. And I think that's why a lot of people are not animal rights activists, because they identify as human rights activists, and they want to maybe solve, you know, the human rights problems that we're facing before dealing with the animals. And I just think, well, all of it needs to be dealt with, and it
all needs to be dealt with now.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I find that you know, that saying, the root of all evil is the belief that some lives matter less than others, right? This applies to all areas of oppression. And the fact that if we can learn to love other beings, regardless of their species, of their color, of their creed, right? Then that has a waterfall effect. Yeah. And I think, you know, something that really shines out of your activism, especially the beautiful chalk work, is love, right? Love is the basis of it all. And if we can connect with other beings and see them and love them, then, you know, it's hard to be cruel to a person or an animal if you're coming from a place of love. Yes. And if we can help people make that connection, then, you know, hopefully they'll extrapolate. Yeah. No,
exactly. And just trust that there's enough to go around for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, that's, I don't know if you've read Melanie Joy's book Powerarchy.
No, I have that on my list. I love her.
List of books to read.
I know, huge list.
Yeah, and I've heard her speak about it a lot, and it's a very powerful idea, right? That oppression, the root of oppression, is the same, regardless of who's being oppressed. And if we can help humans see that animals are worthy of a fight for liberty, and if we can help humans also recognize that other humans are worthy of a fight for liberty, then it all becomes the same conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like the current system that we have in place now will become irrelevant. We will see how, you know, the exploitation of humans is related to the exploitation of animals. And if we don't tolerate it anymore, you know, if we refuse to accept it and just demand better, then the systems will reflect our beliefs.
Right.
But, you know, as long as we're accepting it and saying, well, some beings, no matter like what kind of body they're in, some beings are just simply not deserving of rights. They're not even like deserving of the right to their own life. You know, it's like there's no way that we're going to find peace in this world. I feel like, to me, that's really obvious. And I try so hard as an activist to convey that, because that's, you know, over the years, I'm sort of whittling it down and I'm realizing that's at the heart of this. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, I love that. Did you ever go through your angry vegan phase?
Oh, hell yeah. It was not pretty.
I think anybody who fights for justice, right, is like they go through the angry phase of just like,
oh yeah. I mean, that was not a great phase, but I think every activist has to go through that. Yeah. And I felt like I had to work hard to get out of it, because I think what tends to happen is that you feel justified in your anger. Absolutely. And you become resentful of people, and they're not changing, and it's like everywhere in your face, right? They're just reminding you and almost laughing at you and mocking you and saying, what you care about, you'll never convince me to care. At least that's how it felt for me. It was infuriating.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, even, you know, some friends and family members kind of pushing buttons that way, where I felt like I took it personally, because I felt like, why aren't you hearing me? Or why don't you respect my voice enough to take this seriously? And, you know, then it kind of sent me down a whole path of feeling very disillusioned with humanity and feeling almost creeped out by humans, and just like, you know, we're supposed to be this species, this intelligent species with moral agency, and this ability to decipher between right and wrong. And we claim to care so much about right and wrong, and yet we're so indifferent to the plight of animals. And it's just, I don't know, it really weirded me out for a long time.
Yeah. But the key word that you used there was you moved through it. So how did you do that?
I think Chalktivism was probably a big part of that, just because I was able to funnel my energy into something positive.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're bombarded every day with all of these messages: eat animals and enjoy, you know, this wonderful steak. And, you know, it's just everywhere. You go into the grocery store and there's their dead bodies in the refrigerator, and you're just constantly confronted with it. And I wanted to say something and to make my voice heard. Just this, you know, it's like a small act of rebellion. Like, no, I'm going to put out this message that is completely counter to all of that. And, you know, just, yeah, that really helped me to work through it, was just like putting my love for animals and my love for, you know, life on this beautiful planet, and, you know, for people also. It's just like, it's love, like you said, that's what drives it. And I was able to kind of put that out into my chalk art. And then, you know, I've been finding like people responded so positively, and it just kind of was like kept me going.
The videos that you like, and the conversations that you've had with people. So tell me, when you first started doing the Chalktivism, was it scary to be like, okay, here I am, like doing this, and like people are going to be like judging me as an activist and an artist? Yay.
Yes, exactly. An activist and an artist. You said it. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I feel like even now, I was doing chalk art yesterday, and every time I get started, I feel just a little bit of butterflies. Like, you know, it's kind of hard for me to put myself out there. It's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. You know, I'd be much more comfortable if I wasn't putting myself out there. But once I get started, it feels so good. And then, yeah, people always, you know, comment. It's 99% positive feedback. People are curious. I find that they respond really well to the message too, because I keep the message positive and I keep the message focused on the values that veganism is based on, you know, the justice and the compassion and the love and the equity and all the things that humans sort of innately care about.
Yeah.
So when they see that, they light up and they're like, thank you. They thank me for doing it. And even if they're not vegan, you know, that's the thing, is like, people will say, there's so much negativity in this world. Thank you for putting this art out there. And like, they just respond really, really well. And yeah, and it's also really cool because I draw from my experience with Anonymous for the Voiceless, which is now Justice for Animals, of course, in Seattle. But just like knowing how to have those conversations, and also being more confident to just keep it focused on those values. You know, if people kind of want to take it somewhere else and they want to go, you know, but what about this and what about that? I just try to really not have like confrontational experiences, but just, you know, plant a little seed. I used to expect people to go vegan on the spot,
Right.
but I don't expect that anymore.
That's a short road to disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I once heard, you know, people need to hear a new idea 100 times or so before they're even willing to consider it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's scientific or true or anything, but I just feel like, well, when I put my chalk art out there, it's just kind of adding to people's tallies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you never know whether you might be that 100th time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's the first time, you know, I feel like there's so much about veganism now in mainstream culture, and like, it's such a part of just the kind of, what you hear about on a daily basis now. And it wasn't like that when I first started. So
that was only 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's good to see the change. I'm hearing a couple of themes come through here too as well. Like, you know, obviously lead with love is something that I'm hearing. And I'm also hearing that like, the fact that you've chosen a path of positive activism actually helps you not to be sucked into the overwhelm and the burnout.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you've gained skills through doing the cube and the outreach work with Justice for Animals, that those skills in Socratic questioning, those skills in keeping the conversation to the point and not allowing it to go off, you know, and that very welcoming, you know, something. Before I did a cube, I was a little intimidated by them, you know, because there's like, you know, the people with the masks and
totally,
and, you know, and being in that group of people and just realizing how love-based it was, like how people, you know, it was, we're not here to judge people. We're here to have conversations with them and help them make their own connections.
Yes.
Was hugely reassuring to me as an activist. And it sounds like you've really taken those skills and then said, you know what, but I love to make beautiful things. I love to put sunshine out into the world and to bring the message that way. And so it sounds like it's almost like a self-care strategy as well as an activism strategy.
Yeah. You nailed it. I mean, that's exactly it. I feel like if I wasn't active in some way, I would go crazy. Like, I feel like I need to do something. I need to have that outlet, because I don't know, I've never felt anything like this before, to be honest. You know, my need to speak up for the animals is so strong. And it feels good to do it. And so I feel like you got to do it, because it just feels so intensely right. And yeah, that is self-care, because it's, I mean, sitting with the awareness of all of the the horrible things that are happening to animals, you know, having to just sit with that and do nothing and to feel so helpless and hopeless and overwhelmed. I mean, it's too much. So yeah, turning
like
it
you
into
have to move
something.
that energy, right? You've got to do something.
Yeah, shift that energy and really help people to see that it's not this foreign thing, it's not extreme, it's not weird, that it is totally in line with their pre-existing values. It's everything that they already care about. And just, it's, yeah, I gotta talk about it, even if, you know, maybe I sound like a broken record to
You only sound like a broken record because you're hearing it over again. Like everybody else is hearing it for the first time or second time, right? So tell me about some of the favorite conversations you've had while you've been doing your Chalktivism.
Gosh, I feel like every time I speak with someone who just makes me so happy because they get what I'm saying.
Right.
I was doing a chalking at this beautiful sunset spot in Ballard the other day. And this man was just so friendly. He stopped on his bike and he was like admiring my work and he was so happy that I was doing it and saying all those things. But I hadn't written the word vegan yet because I include that in all of it. So yeah, this one said healthy oceans equals healthy earth equals healthy humans. Nice. And it was overlooking this beautiful view of the ocean. And he was really connecting with what I was saying, and he clearly cares deeply about the environment. And we were talking all about how, you know, how we treat the earth comes right back to us, and we have to take care of this planet. And, you know, as humans, we are, you know, basically given this sacred responsibility to take care of this planet, because, you know, we're the only species who is single-handedly causing the global climate crisis. You know, so we have to figure some things out and really change our ways. And so then I said, well, he wanted to take a picture, and I said, well, let me add my last little part here. And he's like, oh, vegan, okay. And I said, yeah, it ties into everything we've just been talking about. So it's just, I love that we can talk about the values and talk about those things. And then it's like, and that's what veganism is about.
Right.
You know, and he was completely getting it, but I felt like first, like it was coming out of him, you know, he is saying all these things. And so I'm just kind of connecting those dots and saying, well, that's exactly what veganism is all about. And then he was like, well, yeah, I mean, we're not built, like our bodies physically are not built to, you know, they can eat meat, but he knew that we are healthier when we don't eat animals. Right. And so it was just really cool because he wasn't vegan, but he was making all the connections. And,
right. Yeah.
You know, and then it's just a positive interaction, and it makes some kind of impression, and off he went, and I'll probably never see him again, just like every other person I talk to, but like, it's just, I don't know, I love it. I just feel like I can go home and I'll know that that man, we had a meaningful conversation, and hopefully he's going to talk to his family and his friends, and it's just going to like ripple outwards. So
yeah. And then maybe when he's making a decision about what to eat or where, or, you know, what entertainment to choose, that it kind of just is there in the back of his mind. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. So, and I think you mentioned one time there was a lady who was walking her dog, and she decided that she was going to have something different for dinner after talking to you, because she was, I can't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was at Green Lake. Yeah. Yes, I remember that one. Yeah, she was walking along and her jaw dropped open. She was like, no way. She said, I have not been eating meat for I don't know how long. It had been a couple months or something. And she said, I was going to eat chicken today for the first time in months, and now I can't because of your artwork. And she was laughing. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, she definitely saw it as a sign, you know. It's like, oh, I'm seeing this for a reason. And I mean, I loved her reaction, because she was laughing about it, but she knew, like, oh man, I can't do it now.
So, how long does it take you to do? I mean, like I look at what you do and I think, well, that would take me hours.
Usually it takes me, I'd say between an hour, and the last one I did yesterday was really big and it took me 4 hours.
Wow.
And it was right down at Magnuson Park down next to Lake Washington.
Uh-huh.
And it was so hot, and after I was done, I jumped in the lake with all my clothes on. Felt so good. But, yeah, that was the biggest one I've done yet. I haven't posted it yet because I have been having fun making the videos and like finding the right music to go with it and everything. So
yeah, I love how that process in and of itself is evolving as well.
yeah, me too. Yeah, because I was finding that I couldn't capture the whole image in one photograph necessarily. So then I thought, oh, I'll just take a little video and I can walk back and forth and like show all the different angles. And so,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And then how you think about the music too, and like what would be a good song with this? So
yeah, exactly. And oh, it's funny because I have saved my CDs. I'm like, this ancient relic from the past. I still have CDs. And I've been having oh, yay. I love my CDs. I love listening to a whole album, because otherwise I'm listening to like Pandora radio and just kind of like have all these, it's wonderful, but CDs are something special.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just been having fun, like going through them all and finding songs and thinking, this will be perfect to go with my next video,
Awesome. So do you have an art type of background? Like, because your work is beautiful. And I know that when I take my little chalky things out, it's going to look like some 4-year-old just hit the streets. So.
Yeah, well, I do have a little artistic background. I went to Capilano College in North Vancouver for a couple years. They have this really cool program, which actually isn't open anymore. They closed it down, but I know it's sad. It was an amazing 2 years. I got to do sculpture and drawing and art history and painting, which is my favorite. And just feeding off of other artists for 2 years and everyone, being in the same sort of creative, wonderful place. That was great. Other than that, I've just kind of drawn and painted my whole life pretty much. So it's just... yeah, like with the lettering and stuff, people are often, their comments, how do you get it to look like that? But I've been doing
perfect it. And not having to squish it in at the end like I do.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. And that kind of fine kind of work of, I don't know, I just feel like I can really relate it to all the painting that I've done. So it's, I've trained myself to do that. And when I look back at my early chalk art, it's way simpler. Mm-hmm. And, it's definitely evolved over time. So, yeah.
Kind of like your journey, right? So.
Exactly.
Yeah. What would you say to people like me who are like, well, I can't be as effective because it won't be beautiful. It'll just be like scratching on the pavement.
Oh, I would never say to stop yourself. I would say for some of the reasons I was talking about earlier, as far as it being a form of self-care and feeling like you're doing something, just do it. Don't be critical of yourself and stop yourself. Just keep in mind who you're doing it for, right? You're doing it for the animals, and you are not, you don't have to impress anybody. It's just chalk on the street and it's going to wash away with the rain anyway.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, there's research that actually says it doesn't matter if you're good at art or not, just doing something creative for at least 45 minutes is so healthy for your body. It brings down your cortisol levels, it lowers your heart rate. So it puts you in a much healthier state. And, for me as a Gestaltist, state is really important, right? It's like one of the reasons why I work alongside of my horses is that if we can bring people into that state, right? 45 minutes to an hour of like just drawing, making your chalk on the street, right? Not being attached to it being great, but doing it for the process of it and the expression of it. That is going to put you in a healthier physical state.
Yeah.
And what it also does is it kind of puts you in this state of, you know, we're moving away from fight, flight, freeze into rest and digest. We're moving into the you know, getting our nervous system recalibrated.
Right.
And when we're in that state, we're actually we're better at problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we've got some big problems to solve in the world. So
Yes.
what you're doing by doing your Chalktivism is actually you're priming yourself to be a better problem solver.
Oh, I love that.
As well as also getting the word out and having fun.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that. I never thought about it in that way. And I love that so much because I feel like the more chalk art I do, the more I feel happy. Like I'm never in a bad mood after I finish doing a chalk drawing. And I also feel like, yes, what you're saying, like we have huge problems to solve. It's very complex and it's going to take a lot of creativity to solve them. And it's not going to be one solution for everything. It's got to be multiple things. And I feel like, yeah, doing art kind of helps me. It gets my creative juices flowing. Yeah. You know, like besides doing chalk art, I'm constantly, it's kind of embarrassing, but I think about this all the time. Like I'll be walking with my dogs and just thinking about animal rights and, you know, how it relates to human rights and all these different things. And ideas pop into my head that I don't want to forget. So I take out my phone and I'm talking into my phone. And just taking all these notes that I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I would love to do some kind of writing, I don't know, essays or something or a book. I don't know, but that's just a whole other piece of it. And I feel like it's this creativity that's flowing through me. These ideas are just coming and I'm like, okay, I don't know where that came from. I've never thought of it before. But I feel like it's really interesting because it's tapping into something way deeper. And I feel like my whole journey as an activist, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And I see it as it's more spiritual now. I'm understanding that there's way more going on than, you know, just achieving animal rights is like, that sounds not as deep as what we would actually be accomplishing if we were to do it. It would be a massive shift in human consciousness.
It would be, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's ultimately, I mean, it might seem silly, but when I do my chalk art, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to speak to that underlying consciousness that I want to rise up.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
I adore that. I love it because I think that we're presented with opportunities to raise our consciousness every day. And excuse me, you know, we often we get distracted and we go down these paths that are kind of fake consciousness raising, you know, but they're really not getting to the root of the evolution that we need to facilitate. And so, you know, connecting people to love, connecting people to compassion, tapping into that creative space inside you. I mean, I have no doubt that these ideas that you're planting in your phone, right? that you're going to come up with something beautiful, and you will write something and you will create more art, you know. And we need beautiful things in the world right now. We need words of comfort. We need words of inspiration. We need, you know, to be inspired. And so you know, like when I reached out to you, we're like, oh, really? I'm just a dork with some chalk, you know? No, you're a magician. You have to understand that.
I should wear like a Merlin's cloak next time.
That starts some other conversations, which ought to be fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So do you feel like this is one of the more effective forms of activism that you've engaged in for you?
I think so. I mean, you never know how effective you are because it was like that, you know, doing the cube of truth as well. You feel good. You feel as though at least I am speaking to someone. And I also just want to say that I am aware that what we're trying to achieve here is so much more than people changing their personal choices. I know it's a systemic issue that is so monumental. It's huge. It's woven into the very fabric of society. You know, I don't have any delusions about, oh, you know, if we get enough people to go vegan, then everything's just going to magically change. I know that, yeah, the government is subsidizing these industries and it's destroying the environment. It's all tied together. There's very powerful forces who are keeping the system in place. But I feel like it's what we were talking about with the consciousness raising, that if enough people make that connection and understand that there's no separation between us and animals and the earth, really. We're all just, it's the same life force going through all of us. We come from earth, we return to earth. All of our lives are important and we're all worthy. And kind of lost my train of thought there, but what was I trying to say?
I know, but I was enjoying the rides.
Rambling on as usual.
No, but it is effective to you're getting at something bigger than just what are you going to wear or eat or watch, right? Yeah. You're getting at who do you want to be in the world? Right. How do you want to be in the world? You know, do you want to be and you know, something that's come up for me a lot lately in some of the anti-racist work that I've been doing is this idea of when we harm others, we're sustaining trauma to ourselves. And so it's, you know, we're never going to be, when we think that, you know, in our supremacist thinking, we think we're free and we're not. Right. Because we're actually traumatizing ourselves as we perpetrate oppression on other beings. And so to come to that realization of, to free myself, I have to fight for their freedom. I love that. Other people, other beings, because we are one. And to bring it all together and say, you know, like this is bigger than just a choice, a personal choice. Yeah. And change the systems until we come to that place of realization. Right. Yeah. How could we possibly change the system if we as individuals don't recognize our own power? You know, our power to just let your light shine and embrace all of those, embrace the love and love others. If you're a racist, you are not embracing love. And like you say, you're going to suffer. It doesn't feel good in your heart of hearts under all of that conditioning, that, you know, that unnatural conditioning that has caused you for some reason to look at another human being as less than simply because of some physical characteristic like the color of their skin, which is so irrelevant. You know, you can't be happy if you're denying them their personhood and the respect that they are worthy of just because they're a living being just like everyone else. So but I so agree. And when you step into that full loving approach, then you just realize, oh, well, the more I expand it, the better I feel and the better off everything is. And it's just like this positive ripple effect. And why wouldn't I want that? Exactly. And we know, you know, science tells us it's measurable. Emotions are contagious, you know, and energy it propagates, right? So what you focus on expands. And I think we have a negativity bias as a human being. So it's easy for us to focus on the negative and the terrible things that are happening. And we should also be very cognizant of those things, right? We should never look away from them. We should never pretend that they're not happening. Right. And we have a choice. And I think that if more of us had the discipline to relentlessly focus on, I choose love, I choose compassion,
yeah,
things would change very quickly.
yeah,
Rather than, you know, yes, be angry, because I'm not going to say don't be angry. Being angry is a healthy response to a messed up world, right?
yeah, right.
Be angry, and then use that anger as fuel, right?
Exactly.
In service to the vision that you
Yes.
have, and the vision has to be positive, right? So I think a lot of us as activists, we forget to focus on the vision. We tend to focus on the tactics, you know, what we're doing and what we're fighting in this moment.
Right.
And we forget to keep bringing ourselves back to that vision, back to that North Star, right? Like, what is this world that we're fighting for? What are we trying to make? What are we, where are we trying to go? Who, as a species, do we want to be?
Yes.
And then taking it from there, right? And I think that's where the art comes in. Art helps us to come back to that vision. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's why it feels so joyful.
I think so. Maybe. Do you ever get like anybody, like, so I watched a horrible YouTube video the other day of this old bag who, these kids had done this beautiful Chalktivism in the street outside her house, and she disagreed with it, clearly. And she came out with her hose and she hosed the whole thing down.
Oh my gosh, horrible.
And I was like, why would you do that? Well, I know why she did it, but do you ever have somebody say, well, oh, that's vandalism, or, oh, you shouldn't be doing that in public places? Or do people just be like, oh, it's lovely?
Oh, I've had a couple of bad experiences. I don't usually share those on Facebook because I like to highlight the positive. But it, like I said, it's about 99% positive. But I remember this one woman was really triggered by, it was Mother's Day. It was, I think, a couple years ago. And I had done a piece that said, milk, what did it say? Milk is for baby cows. Leave it to the babies, or I forget, something along those lines about dairy, the dairy industry. And she was so angry. And it was kind of scary because I was on this trail and nobody else was around. And she actually was so mad that she wiped it out with her feet. She like smudged it, and I'd never had anybody like intentionally do that before. So I didn't know what to do. She clearly wanted to have a confrontation. And I mean, I know enough to know that there was no reaching her in the state of mind that she was in. She was in a completely flooded state of mind. She was angry. And I knew that she was beyond reason. So I just kind of didn't talk to her, and I just kind of nodded and like, you know, I'm not here to fight, basically. So next time I might engage a little differently if something like that were to happen again. That was earlier on in my activism work, so I didn't really know how to cope with that. But now I feel like I've learned a little bit more about how I could just really try to calm her down and just acknowledge her anger and whatever that was about. You know, it's clearly not about me.
You know. So I think that's a really important point, though, right? Is that when we can stay regulated, when we can stay calm and not get into the confrontation of the moment, to be able to validate, like, this person is in pain of some sort. Right? This person is angry or fearful or upset, and to then make that connection on a human level. I think even the fact that you didn't engage, she probably went home and felt a little bit bad about what she'd done, you know?
Yeah, I imagine she did. Yeah, and she should. That was a lame thing to do, but...
And the beautiful thing about chalk, actually, is something I did a drawing class years ago, and one of the things that the teacher got us to do was to like spend the whole class doing the best drawing that we could of this thing, right? we poured our hearts into it. Like, this is the best I can do. And then at the end of the class, he got us to like crumple it up and throw it away.
Wow.
And I was shocked and horrified and like upset, right?
Yeah.
And the point that he was making was that creativity is an endless font, right?
Oh, nice.
That it's just always there. Like, they don't get attached to the thing you created. And I think that this is a lesson I come back to in my own activism a lot, is don't get too attached to the outcome.
Right.
Do the process, because the process in and of itself is valuable, either to you or to the other person.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking of like, well, it was chalk, you know, hey, you can draw another one, because your creativity is boundless.
Yeah.
And it's the process that's important.
Yes, absolutely. I totally connect with that. And I love that word, boundless. It's just boundless. It's just, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Andy Goldsworthy?
I haven't, but I'm going to write it down.
Oh yeah. Well, he's just an artist who has inspired me. He just does sculptures with like everything in nature. He'll make sculptures with stones or sticks or ice or leaves, like fall leaves and all this interesting stuff. And he takes pictures of them.
Is he the guy who just like does them and then leaves them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love his stuff. I didn't even know what his name was. Look at that.
Cool. Yeah. I think there's more people doing it, but I feel like he was kind of one of the original, like he was doing it in the 70s. And anyway, I think that idea, that seed was planted for me when I first discovered his work. Nice. Because it's like he's putting all this effort in and he's making these beautiful things, and then he's leaving it and it's gonna wash away with the rain, and that's it, you know? Yeah. And so it's kind of the same thing with my chalk. I feel like whenever people see it, they were meant to see it. And it's just kind of like this little magical moment where no matter how they respond or what they think of it, it's kind of like why would somebody spend their afternoon doing that? You know, they must really care about this. You know, I think on some level that must register for people. Right. You know, like, why would someone do that if they didn't really care? And that's why I'm there. I care so much. I got to do something. And I think, that people pick up on that. And then they know that, oh gosh, all that effort, and then it's gone. It's just chalk. Right. So,
but it's like the spoken word, right? The people who saw it when they were meant to see it. I love it. Have you ever thought of making like a coffee table book, of like getting someone to take beautiful photos of your work and making a coffee table book?
I love that idea. Yeah. And a friend of mine reached out not that long ago, and she asked if I would want to work on something with her. She's putting together a book of different sort of things that are animal rights related. And she asked me if I could contribute some of my images. So
fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, I would love that.
They do move into perpetuity in some form, right?
Right.
It is forever too.
That's right. Yeah. And I feel like once you start doing something, you know, things naturally gain this kind of momentum, and you never know where it's going to go.
Totally. So how do you think people besides finding their giant chalkies at Safeway, how do you think people can get started with Chalktivism?
I would go to Vegan Chalk Challenge on Facebook. That's a really good place to check out. That's like everybody who's doing what I'm doing shares their work there. And so it's a great place for inspiration. So you can just scroll through all these different images and things that people have done. That's what I did in the beginning too, because I was like, I don't know what to write exactly. Yeah. You know, so that's a really good spot.
Great idea. Yeah, get inspired by other people, right? Beautiful, nice, and get yourself chalk. So besides Safeway, where do you find chalk? I mean, this was serendipitous. So, because honestly, I've been seeing people do it, and I've been thinking that could be fun. I could do that. And like, where do I even get chalk?
Right.
Besides like the little classroom sticks, right? That would be. Like,
right, those tiny little white ones. Yeah. Well, you can usually find it at like places like Target or Fred Meyer,
Okay.
or like the drugstore like Rite Aid or Bartell's. They often have sidewalk chalk, so it's
That's what it's called.
sidewalk chalk. Yeah. And then I'll order it online sometimes, because there's a certain kind that I can get that has this shade of green that I love. And I go through a lot of it. So I'm like, I wish I could just order that one color, you know,
Right.
I haven't figured out a way to do that yet.
Like my printer ink, it's like I really just want to order that one color, but no, I have to get them all.
I know. Yeah, it's exactly the same kind of thing. Yeah.
What about your work? Where can people find to have a look at some of the beautiful things you do?
Yeah, I usually make my posts public on Facebook. That's basically the only place that I'm publicly posting things right now. And everyone keeps telling me I should get Instagram. So
yes, you should get Instagram. That'd be so much fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, good. So it's okay if I share your Facebook?
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, because I think people will get really excited by what they see. So
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
hope they're inspired.
I think so. I mean, I am. So there's one.
Yay.
So Wendy, tell me, just before we wrap up, you know, you've been on a 5-year journey, right, of beautiful activism. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to somebody who's just now thinking like, I need to do more. I need to speak out. I need to take some action. What advice would you give somebody?
I would say nurture that instinct, even if it's scary. Work through it, find people. There's, you know, if you go online, you can find communities of people who can support you. That's really important, because, you know, I felt really alone at first. I felt like my friends and family, as much as I wanted them to come along for the ride, they were not ready. And so I had to find other people who understood me and just knew what was in my heart. And that is so, so important, because I feel like since, you know, exploiting animals is so commonplace, yeah, that you almost, like I went through, you know, in the early days, a stage of, is it really that bad? Like if everybody is doing this, maybe I'm, yeah, I don't know, like making a bigger deal out of it than it should. That was a very brief moment in time, but I did feel like that because it was just kind of.
It is that bad and worse. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's so much worse. And so, yeah, find people who get that. And so you don't have to explain yourself to them. And also keep your expectations low as far as how people will respond. Don't invest your emotional state in how they are going to respond to you, because it's totally out of your control. The only thing you can control is how you put yourself out there. If you're coming from an intent that is based in love and you just are speaking from a place of truth, I love animals. I do not want them to suffer. I also love the earth. I do not want the earth to be polluted in this way. And I love humans and I want people to be healthy and happy. If that's your place that you're coming from, say your piece, do whatever it is that you're doing, whatever form of activism, and let it be. Like that's all that you can do. So however people respond to you it's up to them.
Beautiful. That is profound wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, I am inspired. I am uplifted. Thank you, Wendy. I really do appreciate just you being such a ray of sunshine in the world.
Aww,
and, everybody, I will share the link to Wendy's Facebook page in the show notes. And I hope that you all go and get yourself some chalk and just practice and play and have fun with it. And
I agree.
See, just put some joy and some love and some creativity in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, 100%. I'm with you.
Right. Excellent. All right, Wendy, I hope we get to meet in person one day soon.
I would love to meet you. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. It's so easy.
All righty. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. And everybody, please, if you know, subscribe, share this episode. If you know of anybody who is in need of some inspiration or some joy, share this episode, share Wendy's page. Go and play with some chalk. Go have some fun with them and spread some love. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.